What's going on, you lot? I hope you're all sweet. As you'll know, I just got back from the Sahara Desert and it was probably one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life. That being said, it was definitely one of the most hardest situations I've ever had to film in environment-wise. So you know what, I thought I'd break it down and give you lot a bit of an idea of how I managed to shoot 2 hours in the Sahara Desert and managed to put a sequence of that together. So yes, enjoy. So people, let's get straight into this. So I've literally just got back from Germany. I was doing a few filmmaking workshops. I was actually breaking down my Sahara Desert sequence and how I shot it. And it made me think, hold on a sec, why don't I just make a video about my workflow when I was in the desert? Because I get so many questions about how we got the drone in there, actually filming in the desert, the logistics of it. So why don't I just break it all down for you? So yeah, as I say, the Sahara was probably the most incredible place I've ever been in my life. When you get to travel and shoot, you want to have like a good balance of shooting, taking in the environment and where you are, and actually just understanding what the hell you are doing. Like, it literally just made me think, I am standing in the middle of the Sahara Desert, the most famous desert on the entire planet, and I'm standing in it and I'm about to film in it. Like, just a mad bit of thought process. Now, we didn't just kind of turn up and think, right, let's just see what we can do. Me and Mike actually spent a long time throughout the week planning and deciding what kind of shots we want to get, how we're going to get them, and how we're going to use our equipment to not destroy our cameras, our gimbals, everything that we had, the drone. So it did actually take quite a lot of planning. And if you're going to go into a dodgy environment like the Sahara or any other kind of really intense environment, I definitely would suggest planning how you're going to do it, your times, how you're getting there to make sure you've got enough time to shoot, and all of the equipment, and making sure you know your equipment. So as soon as we got there, we were straight out of the car and we made sure we had our gear ready to rock and roll. In the car, I kind of made sure that my gear was all ready. So as soon as I step out, I'm in the perfect settings. I've got all of my gimbal balanced and ready for the setup that I've got. And also I made sure that I kind of semi-weather sealed my camera before I even got there. Because you know what sand is like. Sand likes to destroy everything. So there's a couple of issues that actually came up filming in the desert that I'd quite like to talk about. The first one is sand, right? Now, obviously, you're in the desert, there's gonna be a couple of little grains of sand flying about. Now, if you get sand in your lenses, you get sand in your camera, it can do quite a bit of damage. So whatever you do, make sure you can try and weather seal your camera before you go into the desert or before you go into any like kind of sandy environment. So before we actually went there, I tried my best to weather seal my camera. I got like a silicone case for it, but it didn't really seem to do that much. It did, however, like stop the sand from going into some of like the wheels and stuff on my camera, which was a massive help. But I did get a load of sand in my lens and it was like every time I pulled focus on it. That is one of the reasons why I only use cheap lenses, because I just know that I'm gonna at some point ruin them and I can just lob it away and buy another one because it only cost me like 80 quid. Now, one of the hardest things with working in the sand was the fact that you couldn't actually put anything on the floor because everywhere was obviously sand. Anything that you're kind of holding, say you want to change a lens, you've got your bag on your back, you can't actually like put anything on the floor. Because as soon as you put something on the floor, it's covered in sand and you're going to ruin it. So when I was kind of setting up my gimbal and I was rebalancing, I couldn't put it on the floor. It was the hardest thing ever. I was kind of having to do it all holding it like this. Because I did actually change lenses a couple of times on my gimbal. Therefore, I had to rebalance it. So luckily, I know my gimbal inside out. I was actually working with the Zion Crane Plus, which is the slightly smaller gimbal to the Crane 2. And I wanted to take the Crane Plus because it breaks into 2 pieces, easy to travel with, and it's nice and light. The Crane 2 is a little bit beefier, a little bit heavier, and I wanted just a light setup so I could run about in the Sahara, no problem. I did actually get a little bit of sand in one of the back motors of my gimbal, and it was making a couple of dodgy noises, but after about 2 or 3 hours of me just like rattling it, the sand did actually fall out, and now it works perfectly fine, which I'm super happy about because I need my Crane Plus. Another massive element of working in the desert was the fact that we had very limited time. We actually turned up to the desert at like 6 o'clock in the evening, and we had about 2 hours to get all of the shots that we wanted. And obviously when you hit golden hour, you get about an hour and a half to an hour of the most beautiful light going. The dunes just create like these beautiful layers and stuff where the sun comes in and we get these beautiful shadows. So when you're limited on time, you need to kind of have a bit of a plan. So we made sure we planned out the shots that we wanted. So when we got there, we wasted absolutely no time. Another thing when it comes to like limited amount of time, I'd say like know your gear inside out. I know the camera, I know my lenses, I know my gimbal, I know everything I need to know when I'm there. If you don't know your gear, you're going to turn up and you're going to be like, oh, right, how do I do this? Like, oh, I don't really know how to balance my gimbal. And you're just wasting time, mate. You're in the Sahara Desert. Like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Make sure you know your gear, get there, and just enjoy it, shoot the hell out of it, and just make amazing content. So I make sure that I know all of my equipment inside out before I go onto any shoot. Another really important thing was the fact that I had a good bag. Now, you need to make sure that you've got a decent bag when you're in the Sahara, because I was running about, and if I ever needed to put it down, I know that I can put it down backside up, so then I can open up the lid and get to anything. So you want to be really quick. So when you lift up the lid, there's sand flying around. Quickly pick out what you need and put the lid back down. So for this trip, I actually used my f-stop Talopa, which is easily my favorite camera backpack I've ever had in my life. I just got the Lotus, but my Talopa is definitely my favorite. I'd definitely say like make sure you've got a really good bag if you're going to go into like a really crazy environment to shooting, because you need to be in and out of there, and you need to trust that your bag is going to look after your equipment in really crazy environments. And lastly, like your body takes a massive amount of stress, a massive amount of load when you're running in sand. We had 2 hours to run around the desert and do whatever we could. We probably ran like about a mile in the sand, and I'm telling you, it is not easy. You're running about on sand, mate, and your like legs are sinking in and you're like sweating, and I'm running with my gimbal and I can hardly see because I've got sweat going in my eyes, my hair's all over the gaff. It ain't easy. So definitely like just look after yourself. Like I remember I kind of had to like tell myself like, come on James, relax, just take like 5 minutes to just catch your breath and then go again, because like the sun's setting, you're like running out of time, and this is like a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm like running and I'm like, nah, come on James, just relax, chill out for 5 minutes, then go again. Another thing that like just done me in was I broke my foot about 2 weeks before I went to Morocco, before I went to the Sahara. Luckily, just before the trip, it kind of like healed itself. So I was like buzzing that I was going on this trip with like a non-broken foot. And then I was running through the Sahara Desert and my freaking foot, like I just felt it go like and just break. Like one of my metatarsals I broke like a couple of weeks prior. And I was just running along and I just felt it go, and I was like, oh shit. But like I didn't really care at the time. I was like, right, I knew this could have happened, but I just had to get on with it. I remember like this shot here, I was chasing after Mike, running through the sand, and I remember like limping like crazy, like, nah, I can't do this. But yeah, honestly, it was mad. So just make sure you look after your body when you're like in environments like that, because there's no point trying to risk your life. Well, actually, I don't know. I definitely risk my life all the time for shots, but there's no point risking your life just for the shot, mate. Even though I do, I don't really recommend doing it, because like, what's the point if you're dead? The other thing was, how did we get our drone into Morocco? So we actually worked with a travel company called Travel Link Morocco, who were an incredible travel company. They sorted us out a lot. They really done a lot for us to help us create the content that we wanted to create. They were actually the reason that we were able to get our drone into Morocco, because it's super hard to get your drones into Morocco. They kind of liaised with the government and allowed us to get like special permission, which I feel super lucky to have. So people, I hope you enjoyed that little story time, I guess, about how I shot in the Sahara. If you want another one of these, let me know, because I'm lucky enough to shoot in some really interesting places. And if you kind of want to know some ins and outs, just let me know, and yeah, we'll do another video. But before you go, I want you to write in the comments what your favourite environment or your favourite location is that you've ever filmed in. And then under that, I want you to tell me what the hardest thing about filming in that location was. Because I want to have a little look through and see where you guys have been. Because if there's somewhere that really stands out, I might go, you know what, I'll give that gaff a go. Anyway, people, thank you so much for watching this video. Another little session with JMM on the couch of peace and prosperity. We should probably do more of this, do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, people, have a great day, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.